Welcome to Joy in the Garden. I'm glad you're here with us today, and we got a lot of things going on. I'm going to show you some stuff in the garden, some new projects and things, but I was going to tell you, I showed you my breakfast the other morning. Well, I decided to change things up this week, and one day I made me an egg sandwich. That's right. Yeah, an egg sandwich, not an egg salad sandwich, an egg sandwich. And I hope all of you have had one of those. If you don't, try it. Fry up an egg, use you some white bread and some good Duke's mayonnaise. It's got to be Duke's mayonnaise. And man, it makes a wonderful, wonderful sandwich. But it made me think about my Papa Scott. His name was Leroy Scott, and he was born in 1910. Now, I recently found out through doing my genealogy that when he was born, he had a twin brother at birth, and that twin brother passed away at birth. So we never knew that as kids growing up. But during his life there, and thinking, back in 1910, as he grew up, as he got to be, I think, probably about 12 years old, his mother and father divorced. Now, remember the time we're talking about. This was very unusual. And when his mother, her name was Lizzie Cox, and when she divorced, she left the kids and everything with him and took off. Well, Joseph Newell Scott, my great-great-grandfather, decided at that time, I think there were 6 or 7 kids there in the family, and he said, I can't raise you guys. And he made them all leave. And so my papa, at 12 years old, left home to be on his own. Now, he lived an interesting life after that. He became a hobo. And so this would have been in the mid-1920s. So he was a hobo, rode all the way out to California on the rails, and finally came back into Greenville, South Carolina. Now, while he was a hobo, he learned how to play pool and do things, so he became a pool shark. And that's how he made his part of his living, was as a pool shark, doing that. Now, when he got back to Greenville, I think God had already dealt with his life, and he made a big change in his life. But he met a young lady whose daddy was a Pentecostal holiness preacher. And that was my Papa Sanders. And with this Pentecostal holiness preacher's daughter, can you imagine how he felt with this guy that was a hobo? Wanted to date his daughter? But they began to date. Papa's life had really changed. And I think Mama probably was a big part of that. But they ended up getting married, lived in Greenville, in the City View area. They went to City View Baptist Church. And do you know, both of them taught a different Sunday school class for over 50 years in that wonderful church. And I tell you, if you want to look up history of a great pastor that was in the Greenville area at that time, was when they were first at City View, Brother Ansel Pruitt. And he was their pastor there. And he preached a message one day called The Stairway to Heaven. And he preached that message and sat down in the front row, and within 2 minutes passed away. they call the album that has that message on it, From the Pulpit to Glory. And wonderful story. Look him up. Look up information about him. But back to Papa Scott. You know, he and I got to be close, but I told you I changed my breakfast up a little bit this week and made that egg sandwich. Well, when I was a kid, I was at my mom and Papa's, and Papa said, "Come on, get up, go. You're gonna go work in the garden with me today." So I went, got up, and Papa made me a fried egg sandwich. So I ate that egg sandwich, and we went out there, and I pulling weeds, whatever he had me doing in the garden. And here just a little bit, I looked up and I said, "Papa, I'm hungry." He said, "Boy, you ain't even earned that egg sandwich yet." So that just a memory that sticks there of that. But I tell you, Leroy Scott became a great man, lived a great life, and raised two good sons. And so hopefully at the end of this session, I can show you a few pictures there. But right now, let's get back to the garden. Okay, I'm working on planting some peppers today. I've got my 5-gallon bucket and I've already added my bone meal in. And then now I'm gonna add some blood meal. Add about 3 tablespoons. Okay, so after I get that in, I'm gonna water it down real good so all that will just soak on down in the soil. Soil's pretty wet because it had a little bit of rain yesterday, and I know we've got some more coming at about 11 o'clock today. So I think it's, in good shape to plant. Okay, we'll let that settle just a little bit. Now, what I'm going to do now is add a little more soil in to each bucket. I want to bring that level on up to about, I'd say, an inch from the top. Yeah, I think that'll be good. And again, with this, I'm using my mixture of topsoil, perlite, compost, and what's it called? Peat moss. That's it. I'm not gonna get all my peppers out today because some of them are still just a little too small to head out. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, let's pick up a pepper I want to plant. Let's see what I got. Okay, this one is a mammoth jalapeno. I had to go buy a few peppers, and some of mine just haven't made that well, so hey, you just give up sometimes. Now I'm gonna go down to about the second line in my palm with the soil. Now, one thing I want to add in my hole in here now is some Epsom salt. And I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons down in there. That helps with blossom end rot. So if you realize your peppers are in the same family as the tomatoes. Okay, now that I've got my hole, I'm gonna add a little more blood meal, about 2 tablespoons, and my bone meal, about 2 tablespoons down in there. Okay, so now I'll take my plant here. And I'll tell you one thing I've already done off camera. It's with the pepper, the top of it right here. I pinched the top off down here to about one of the first, a true leaf, and right above that node. And I pinched that off because it will cause the pepper to bush out more than just go straight up and down. So we've got that one in, and we're gonna do a few more, then I'll come back. Okay, so now I've got the plants potted, and I've come in here and placed at least 3 bamboo stakes around the peppers. This one I've got 4, because there's actually 2 that were just going right beside each other. Instead of separating them, I'm just gonna let them grow together. And 3 here. So I've got the bamboo stakes on, and then I've got some little pepper cages. I don't call them tomato cages anymore because I don't know a tomato plant that these would ever hold up. So I'm gonna put them in over that. And now that is pretty secure. We'll give them something good to grow up through and be supported. So I just really like this idea. I did get this idea and thanks from another YouTuber who used to live in Virginia but's down in Florida, and so they have a wonderful program, and I think it's north and low. I don't know. I'll have to look up. If I can learn how to do it, I'll try to paste their YouTube page down front. Now, all that's left to do is come back over here, and that new soil I put in, I want to water it in really good. And here, remember we've already watered once and made sure it soaked all the way through to the bottom. And with that, those peppers are planted. We'll watch them throughout the year, see how they do this summer. All right, here's a look at what I'm calling my cornfield. I said, I've already added on to the garden. You see what I had over here, still there, and things growing. Got tomatoes growing, but here I've made these metal rings. They're about 8 inches tall, and I'm gonna fill them with soil compost. There'll be 6 of them, and I'm gonna do the 3 sisters method. If you've ever heard of that, if not, it comes from the Indians and the Native Americans, whichever you want to call them, the indigenous people of this country. And we, what it is around the edge of the circles, I'm going to plant corn. And the corn I'm planting is a very special seed. In fact, I've been looking for it for years. This year's the first time I found it. And a wonderful gentleman who used to live in King, North Carolina, Brother Marshall Denny, introduced me to this corn. I'm not going to tell you what the name of it is, though. Those that know, you know. Those that don't, it's hard to get a hold of. So I'd rather not say what the name of it is, but we're looking forward to that. But with the corn, then I'm going to plant green pole beans around that, and they'll climb up the stalks. I'm going to use rattlesnake beans, very old heirloom bean. And in the center, be planting squash. And that will keep the weeds out and just grow out among things. So, hey, we'll see how this goes throughout the year, but I thought you'd be interested in seeing this little addition. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this week with Joy in the Garden. Be sure to continue to watch through the end. I'll have some pictures coming up of my Papa Scott and my grandmother in some of them, and we'll see if I can even get back to some older pictures and things. So remember, don't just grow a garden, grow joy.